Most new cars you see on the road today will be unmentioned in just a couple of years. Whether that's because they're broken down in a scrapyard somewhere or they're simply not memorable. But on the other hand, there are some cars out there that are so good in their own respectable way that we can't seem to let them go. Whether that's an old Mustang or a new BMW M3. Some cars are just too good. So today I've decided to compile a short list of some cool cars that will probably become future classics. And what better way to start this than with a German edition shortlist? So without further ado, let's get started. The first car on today's list is the Mercedes-Benz E55 AMG. This super sedan was once the fastest Mercedes-Benz with 4 doors. The E55 AMG is a product of the W211 generation of E-Class. Mercedes's middle child that is the perfect balance of luxury and practicality. But the AMG is no joke. It uses a 24-valve V8, and nestled in the V is a Lysolm-type, twin-screw, supercharger from IHI. A Japanese company and, incidentally, the same brand of blower that's in the crazy Dodge Challenger Hellcat. As a result, its 5.4-liter motor makes around 469 brake horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque, which takes this car from 0 to 60 in just 4.6 seconds. A decent amount of power even in today's standards. This car comes from the era when most high-torque AMG models had a solid 5-speed automatic transmission. Only the rear wheels are driven and the car uses an open differential. Like the gearbox, it's comparatively simple, extremely effective, and pretty tough. You can pretty much find these cars going for anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. That seems a little high, but that's because of a crazy car market right now. However, your purchase would still be justified because these cars do hold their value. The next car on today's list is the first-generation Audi TT. The Audi TT Mk1 was revolutionary in style and exhilarating to drive. A car that's just now getting its recognition. As one of the main trendsetters from the 1990s, the original Audi TT still looks modern in contemporary traffic. And when it started production during 1998, the world instantly fell in love with its curvy looks and punchy drivetrain. At the launch, the TT had one engine option with 2 power outputs. A 1.8-liter engine that offered 180 horsepower and 225 horsepower, respectively. They later added a 3.6-liter motor that pushed out 250 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque, and when paired with Audi's Quattro system could do 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds. If you're just looking to keep one for sheer driving pleasure, the TT Quattro Sport is the one to seek out. If you're simply happy with retro looks on a budget, any base model will provide enough charm to leave you smiling from ear to ear for years to come. Next up we have the much-loved BMW E46 M3. A car that you don't even have to second guess will become a future classic. The E46 M3 is praised in just about every category. The E46 marked a turning point when the M3, and BMWs at large, transitioned from chassis cars that relished handling balance above all else, to engine cars with enough grunt to light off tire smoke from corner exit through the next county. A solid naturally aspirated inline-6 engine that pushes out 343 brake horsepower at a screaming 7,900 RPM and 269 pound-feet of torque at just 4,900 RPM in European spec. Which brings this car to 0 to 60 in just 4.9 seconds. The BMW E46 M3 is arguably the closest to the idea of what the M3 should be and amongst one of the best driver's cars. And I don't think that will soon be forgotten. You can pick up one of these for anywhere from $16,000 to $30,000 depending on year, mileage and body style. The final car on today's list is the 2004 Volkswagen R32. The R32 is among the all-time standouts from the Volkswagen Golf lineage. It was VW's halo Golf for the Mk4 generation and only sold in the US for the 2004 model year. Although the Mk4 platform was in its final days by the time the R32 came along, the car restored everyone's faith in the idea of a VW hot hatch. Straight from the factory, it came with a lower suspension, beefier brakes, deep front spoiler, substantial rocker panels, and a bigger rear bumper, housing twin exhausts. The interior is plush, with Koenig seats each bearing that famous R logo, and the steering wheel is pleasantly chunky. This car featured the 3.6 volts R6 engine mentioned earlier in this video with the Audi TT. The R32 was tuned to push out 240 horsepower at 6,200 RPM and 236 pound-feet of torque at just 2,800 RPM. The only available transmission is a glorious 6-speed manual linked to a Haldex part-time all-wheel drive system that brings the rear wheels into play when the fronts can't handle all that power. This made the car able to do 0 to 60 in a little over 6 seconds. By now, just about every MK4-based R32 in the country has probably had a decade and a half of hard driving, and plenty of them have been modified. But with luck you can pick up a stock one for anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000. Let me know in the comments below which one would you take, and as always thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all next time.